the changing high sign of South retail real estate. What the consumers and retailers expect from malls today and how developers are turning out to meet those aspirations.
Thank you. Welcome to everybody. We have a full house here in panelists. May I request the images group to try and bring the people standing outside into the room here so that we can have a more engaging and collaborative discussion. We've been using the word collaborative since morning. I think let people come inside and listen to.
Coffee is more interesting than us.
I'm sure not. They can bring in the coffee inside, eat the cake and have it too, right? So we'll just get started. We'll hope that others can also join us. The session title is a very long one, so I don't know whether I should read it out or what, but I'll still, I think, attempt to read it. The changing high sign of South retail real estate. What the consumers and retailers expect from malls today. I'll repeat that last statement. What the consumers and retailers expect from malls today, and how developers are turning out to meet those aspirations. So that's a very, very strong title, if I have to use those words. So I'll just request each of you to share a couple of minutes on that big question that we have, and then we can sort of build from there. Why don't we start with you first, Rahul?
See, as a retailer, because I've been on the retail side, for us, what a mall really is a place which can attract consistent crowds of consumers and the right kind of consumers. So first of all, I see that many of the malls have brands which are all over the place. So the consumer is not a unified consumer, it's a hodgepodge of consumers. So malls which are clear in their positioning, malls which have a good mix of retailers and also non-retail activities which are engaging to consumers to attract them to come back again and again to the mall. I think that's what I would look for in a mall.
Fantastic. What about you, Shashi?
Yeah. Let me come first to the retailer because that's very important. As far as retailer, in my opinion, I think they are looking for more and more sales. They are more interested in increasing their bottom line and top line. As simple as that. Beat any mall for that matter. And when it comes to the consumer, I guess is more dynamic in his or her need, wherein they keep changing it every 2 years or every 3 years, right from their way of looking at things from a mall. To very specifically, I think they are looking at more and more of experience which a mall can give beyond shopping. I think that is what is the cue from a consumer point of view.
So Pankaj, you hear everybody's aspirations, mall developers across the country, retailers across the country. So what is the unifying thought that emerges from those discussions?
So Vishal, whatever we learn from people like yourselves and all the other industry partners we interact with, two things which has significantly also changed since 2004, 5 or 7 era to now is that today mall developers, and I can say that some of you all who are, particularly all of you all who are in the dais, understand that a good quality mall means that it's a given there will be good quality hardware there. There is no short-changing that there is no good quality hardware. So it will be well-designed malls with great architects, well-planned zoning or infrastructure, parking, well-lighted corridors, good services and the others. Today, the differentiating factor for a retailer and for a mall developer also to differentiate is actually about the software today. Because today you're not competing with each other as a mall owner. You're not competing with one retailer is not competing with another retailer. So Sanjeev is not competing as Raymond's with the next door retailer who's also Zara who's trying to sell another blazer or a suit or a shirt. You're actually competing with a lot more different animal which comes up suddenly, and there could be an e-commerce, for example. There could be about also the fact of the matter is demonetization for that matter, and saying the customer doesn't want to spend today. It's not about in saying there is an opportunity to spend, but he doesn't want to spend today. So it's all about the software part, which is soft services. Thirdly, which is a very key to retailing in our experience between developers and retailers is retail is all about community spaces. And we were talking about and having a pre-discussion before we walked in. Rajneesh was saying that one of his friends says, I have been to this Saturday, I've been to this mall, Sunday I went to another mall, and then next weekend I went back to the same malls. Where do I keep taking my family? Because let's be honest about, we Indians are very lazy people. We do not in Australia or in New Zealand where we take our kids on a weekend to go surfing or go cycling or playing beach volleyball. What we do on the weekend is either sit in front of the television or actually go out and go to a mall. So how do you encourage that person to keep coming back to your mall? And that's the question both retailers and developers need to ask us. And I think the differentiating factor will be around the software thing is creating community spaces for people to come back to you. So whether creating festivals, whether creating a next reason to come into that mall. And that's really the key differentiating factor.
I think among the two segments that you asked the question about, what are they looking for? It's very simple it's very simple to answer on a behalf of a retailer. A retailer is looking at a profitable store. That's the key lookout for a retailer, that can I have a profitable store in a mall or not. Now there are various strings which make that store profitable. There are various experiences that makes the store profitable, but that's their primary lookout. In terms of consumer, I wish I had an answer. We have been trying to decipher this for last 8-10 years. And every time we look at consumer behavior, we are surprised ourselves. And there are things happen that we never expected. We enter a market and we believe it is a value market. And in 3 years' time, we realize that all the best performing stores are the premium fashion brands, which just put us back 5 years saying that we don't understand consumer. Every time we do a store design change with retailer, we realize that the sales have gone up 10%, 15%. Every time we have sat with retailers that looked at the store design and performance, and we added few lights in the store, and you will be surprised. In one fashion brand, we just added 6 more lights together, and then we decided that this looks like a problem. We added 6 lights. The sales went up by 45%. No change in store staff, no change in merchandise, no change in fixtures, just 6 light bulbs, and the sales went up 45%. And this is real ground story. I'm not cooking it up here. We don't understand consumer, to be very candid. We are making a lot of effort to try to understand consumer. We recently, 3 weeks back, we opened a cosmetic brand exclusive store in mall, and that brand had a store in store with a department store. The sales have simply doubled. Simply doubled. If they were doing X, now they do 2X from both the stores put together. What we could make out of these so many things that we have experienced in past, one thing comes out very clearly to us. Consumer does not mind a little bit of inconvenience, but consumer does not want to make effort at all. So if one learning from my experiences in last decade in this industry is that you have to make shop inconvenience they can bear. That's biggest learning for us from the consumer's perspective, that the shopping for them has to be effortless.
Bhavik, your views?
Yeah, so I obviously don't come from mall background or real estate background, but we touch through our different kind of services on all 3 sections of community. That's consumer, malls, as well as retailers. And I think from consumers' perspective, it's very clear that they don't see retailers and malls as 2 different entities. For them, it's very clearly that I'm going to mall and I'm going for a shopping experience, and it's not necessarily be a buying. So I'm going for shopping, which eventually has one phase called transaction, which is buying. So I might end up doing it. So I think from consumer perspective, I think a little bit more transparency, seamlessness. I think seamlessness is a key. It cannot be, shop, stop, and in orbit. I'm going to an orbit, I'm going to a mall, or going to a place where I want to go through seamless experiences across all the zones that mall is offering me. And, it should be, as you rightly said, a very effortless driver. So I think we as a space, as an industry, should strive to work towards creating whatever is needed, a lot of data sharing, a lot of transparency within our ecosystem to ensure that the consumer is getting best of the class before mall experiences, at mall experiences, and after mall experiences. I think that's...
Let me tell you about as a developer or mall manager, what exactly I want from the retailer. Just keep the basics right. When I say basics, basically opening the shop at the right time. When you say it has to open at 11 o'clock, at 11 o'clock it should be ready. Staff should be in the uniform, the place is clean. I still see a lot of shops, they don't open on time. That's the first basic point. Number two is that ensure that you have all the shelves are full. I have noticed again there are a lot of shops, maybe they are not doing too well, so they want to cut corners. They will not keep all the shelves full. So again, when you don't have the shelves, what happens? Your business goes down. It's a chicken and egg situation. We want the staffs to be trained in the retail shop. That means they should know the product, they should be able to upsell, they should be able to talk to the customers. The staff should be able to talk the customer's language. It's very important to, in literal sense. That means in case somebody is talking in a particular language, if you know that language, you should talk to them the same language. You understand the body language as well, what the customer is looking for. Number two, very important, give the feedback to your head office, the regional office, what the customers are looking for. Maybe you don't have a certain product, the customer wants it. Very important to take it back to your head office, regional office, say that the customer is looking for these kind of things. Now, as a consumer, let me talk to you as a consumer, what exactly I want in a mall, if I am a consumer going to a particular mall. First thing, the arrival experience. I should be able to reach the mall, that means there's a proper infrastructure, the proper entry and exit, and reaching the mall itself should not be an effort. That means it should be clean, road should be nice, you should be able to take a public transport or your own car. When you reach the mall, you want the basic hygiene to maintain. You have good parking, good washrooms. You feel safe and secure in the mall. And when you walk into a store, you see there's again a good arrival experience. That means the stores are well maintained, they have good VM, they have trained staff. And most important is that the tenant mix in the mall. It should be for the catchment. There's no point having a store which doesn't cater to that catchment at all. I don't want to have a Louis Vuitton in the store where we have people who don't want to bid market. Very important to have right tenant mix. And very important component is your food court, entertainment, theater. That's what people are looking for, because when you have to go to the mall almost every weekend, you just can't go shopping. It's also a community center, so you want to spend your time, so maybe you don't shop, but you want to eat out. You want to go to theater, you want to go for entertainment. So these are very important aspects for, as a consumer, if I have to go to mall, I look at all these things.
Sanjeev, I'll just change the question a bit. I think everybody here has mentioned that retailers' expectations from malls is to have a profitable store, right? Have a great experience, convenience, and all that put together gives you a profitable store. My question is that the way to go about creating a profitable store in a mall? And so if you set that expectation with a mall or from a mall, what is the role the retailer is going to play to be able to, sort of create a profitable store for itself? So how does this play between the two, retailer and the shopping mall, take place, in your view?
Yeah, so I think everybody has made a relevant point here. But let me just tell you, as Raymond, what we do is we sign right from the smallest mall to the largest mall. So because that's purely because we have that range of formats which we can play with. And let me tell you, no mall wants to be a disaster when they plan it. Whether it is a 1.5 lakh square feet mall, he says, I want to be my best. But then what makes it not work? That is the point which is very important. So I think what doesn't make a mall work, we have all understood that, the parking has to be right, the tenant mix has to be right, most all the tenants who are inside actually make up for the experience, and that leaves your common area and your parking systems, all of that, which needs to be in place. Relevancy to the market, which I'm sure, we have all spoken about. So the brand which is relevant needs to be there. And therefore, I'm taking that point of view because I have that entire range. Now, if I tell you, there is a mall which is coming in Samastipur, Bihar. Probably you've never heard of it. But because I have fabric stores with custom tailoring, which is like a starter for a market, tier 5, I'm there. Now, for me, the experience that I create in that store, in that 1.5 lakh square feet mall, answering what you asked me just now, is first, I am very clear the kind of price points I'm selling should be relevant to the people who are walking into the mall, number one. Number two, let me tell you, a guy sitting in tier 6 is probably more aspirational than a tier 2 guy. Because he's exposed to the same digital media. He also has a smartphone. He also watches television. He also sees FTV, fashion shows, all of that. But he doesn't have his means. And of course, then there is that whole fact about affordability and all of that. So we try to bring that kind of an experience in a tier 6. Now coming to a tier 2, tier 3, we are again very relevant with the product which sells. We jointly work with the mall to run campaigns. We come forward and tell the mall that, look, I think this is my season's collection and I'm going to do a fashion show free of cost for, let's say, my Park Avenue casual collection. And so there are many such things. I mean, I can go on and on and on in terms of how, the staff has to be absolutely cordial, the interaction has to be good, all of that. And then we can keep going on to the tier 1s where we are planning to do many things. So that's how I feel, from a retailer's point of view, we try to be relevant to the consumers of any of these tiers who come into a mall. But for me, I see a lot of mall operators here today. We have Rajneesh, we have sir here sitting, and we have you, Vishal, there. So, our expectation is from a mall, starting from the parking point, it has to be, the ease of parking has to be there, because today people have zero tolerance. I have personally turned my car around and just went away from that mall to another mall, neighborhood, next mall, just because, I see a queue in front of me. So I don't know who mentioned this point about zero tolerance, but yeah, so today consumers have zero tolerance. So you should have adequate parking available. The ease of parking should be there. The look and feel, the relevant brands, all of that needs to be there. And yeah, that's how I feel both the sides can balance and work.
Sure. Yogeshwar, actually you run one of the best malls in the country, probably the most profitable mall for retailers. So how have you made that happen? How do you think that we can actually translate that level of success to South India?
Thank you, Vishal. Just for the sake of audience, I work for a mall in South Delhi. I have nothing to do with South India. I don't know, there was some confusion here, I believe. South Delhi, Select City Walk, and the mall is doing very well for some reasons, which we are still trying to figure out how and why. One very interesting point that many times we have a meeting with retailers and retailers said that my shop is not doing well, what to do. So we really get puzzled because there's very little in our hands. If you notice, as a mall operator, I'm responsible for what? I'm in housekeeping, security, and some decor and events. I mean, beyond that, I'm not selling anything to the consumer. Now, I do not have any contact with the consumer directly. So let's take a scenario where mall plays an umbrella brand role that the consumers come to the mall. But once they are inside the mall, then it is a level playing field for the retailers. That then retailers take over, and supposing a customer has come with 10,000 rupees to spend, so now the window of the retail shop will play a very important role, and after that the staff and then the merchandise. So in my opinion, it's the mall has to play an important role in putting together the infrastructure, in putting together the assortment of brands, and making sure that it's a level playing field for the brands. But at the end of it, the shopping has to be, the sale has to be done by the retailers. So retailers also have to, so we come across this philosophy that many retailers want to come to join the mall so that they are able to sell more. On the other hand, as a mall owner, we want those retailers who will be able to sell more, So if the balance is not right, for example, if 70% brands which are pulling the consumer and 30% are able to eat off those, then it's fine. But if it's vice versa, that 30% brands are making a lot of efforts, they are bringing the people, they have loyal consumers, they are bringing the consumers, and 70% are waiting that because of those 30 brands, people are coming and then I'll take my share out of it. Then it is lopsided and then the mall starts going down. So this balance has to be maintained by the retailers, and at the end of it, there is no other secret than a partnership. So it sounds very good, but generally, retailers and developers have no option than to remain a partner and help each other sell more.
So that's how do we create another Select City Walk in South India?
Sorry?
Sir, how do we create a select city walk in South India?
Actually, one option is that you hire me. I mean, joking. If the fundamentals are right, the catchment is right, the intent is right. Intent, I mean, it's not visible initially, but as it comes out. So one major change we had from other developers, that from the day one, we had a leasing guy who understood the architecture also. So generally what happens, once the building is ready, the plans are frozen, the lines are drawn, then you bring in the leasing guy and the marketing guy, and then you say that, then you request Pankaj that, no, ye mera building banne wala hai, please take over and lease it out. So then it's little late, and now building is made for at least 30, 40 years. So that's why you see in Gurgaon and many places there are structures ready, but they are not doing well because at the concept stage, nobody took care. So if the marketing and leasing guys are taken on board initially, considering who is going to use the building, you have to take inputs of the brands and the JLL, CBRE, all people who are in this industry. If we take inputs at the concept level, at the architecture level, that makes life very, very easy.
So Rajneesh, I'll just come to you. What, as a mall owner, since you run about, 6 locations now?
Yes.
6 locations and 2 in South India. So as a mall owner, mall management company, what are your expectations from retailers to make sure that, to begin with, they contribute to building a successful mall destination, and along the way also making their own store successful and profitable?
I think the expectations remain more or less same as Yogesh talked about it or Mukesh talked about it. The very basic expectation is that when you start store at 11 and it may sound obvious, but it's an effort to make everybody start store at 11, right? So we devised the system where at 10:45 we make an announcement that mall is going to be opening in 15 minutes time. And if somebody doesn't open, there's a slip on a letter sent out. So it has taken us effort to make sure that everybody opens at 11. That's the first challenge. The second challenge is, this is a retail business. Like in our houses, at one time in the day, the house has to be looking like the way it should look. Everything to be on its place. So at 11, when you open the store has to be spick and span. It has to be looking like the day it opened the first time. Once in a day you have to bring it to that stage that every piece of apparel is in a place, is not tangled with another apparel hanging next to it. The cash desk is clean, the air conditioning is working, all the lights are working, signages are working. These are very, very fundamental. They may sound very simple, but it's not easy. The maintenance, and then you have replenishment of the stocks, the logistics, that has to be in place. Third is staff. I think if you look at, and as I was discussing with before this session, that I just went to a mall close by, and there's a premium menswear store selling premium products. But the staff was, I think, so badly dressed, and in appearance I would compare it to any peon in a government office. But you can't sell a premium product, 4,000, 5,000 rupees shirt with that kind of staff quality. There has to be a mix and match. We promise a lot of things. I have, unfortunately, I'm on floor 4 times in a week. I'm in a mall every alternate day. I have found international brands who promise SOPs and systems in place. Their staff was watching movie on their smartphone. So there are issues, and these issues have to be addressed. I can name the brand, is in Manila, SM department store, 3 lakh square feet department store, I think, in that mall that I went to. Every 3,000 feet within the store that I walked into a new zone. And every time I walked into a new zone, I was greeted by the staff on the floor. And SM department store is a big retail chain in Manila. And I would have seen at least 5 or 6 of their stores in 4 days that I spent there for a conference I went there. The same experience. You go to any of the department stores in our country, I believe in 80% of the time, the staff is talking to each other. And they're least bothered about a customer looking at them, not looking at them, looking at product, not looking at product. These are some of the very, very fundamental expectations from a retail store to upkeep the store well, to merchandise it well, to keep the staff there. Now, your one product range may not sell well, one product range may sell very well, is a different issue, it's a judgment issue, you know. When you produce 30, 40 fashion range in a year, 1, 2 may not sell, one season may not sell. But if you keep your stores well, if you maintain them well, if you stock them well, if the staff is trained well, I think there's a basic expectations from.
Shashi, you have malls in, I think, 4 or 5 cities, if I'm not mistaken, and 2 are there in South India. So typically when the mall starts, all retailers want to, you know, start making money from day one.
Yeah.
But all malls don't start at the same run rate, right?
Yeah, true.
So how has been your experience on a city level? Has Pune been a faster start? Just an example. Or Bombay been a faster start, or Chennai, Bangalore, and how have you actually been able to cope up, collaborate, and take things on a more faster track where you have fallen behind, if at all?
Sure. See, in our own experience, when we launched our center in Chennai, the response was pretty quicker, even for a retailer, as in to large extent of the retailer. There are a few exceptions here and there. Largely, it's because of the catchment, because of the location, and because of the timing, all those matters towards that natural cycle of success. But having said that, there are centers where even in our own experience, where for certain retailers or for majority of retailers, it took some time. So that is a time where probably it throws the larger challenge for the mall, you know, as who takes the larger onus of the performance of each and every retailer, to see how quickly we can come out of that. So in our experience, one is, you know, you stay focused on your core areas, okay? That is in terms of keeping the customer as a prime importance, and to see how I can go about and try and attract him to the center. So how I can go and talk to him about the center. For some reason, the targeted customer or of the targeted catchment are not connecting with my center, in spite of whatever I call as my center the best in whatever aspect of metrics. So, but somewhere there is a communication problem, so let's address that first, and let's make effort in addressing those communication gap, and it's an evolving process, right? There is no hard and fast rule to that, okay? Number one. Number two, even if you have managed to convert some of the customers who have come to your shop, come to your center, how do you ensure that he has the stickiness with the center? So what are how do we ensure that we give him all that 5 elements of senses, where he relishes and he goes back and his word of mouth increases about the center, where he feels pride about the center, whether he feels, you know, himself proud of associating with the center. Like for example, I'm sure Yogesh would have been proud that many people in South Delhi would like to say, I'm in Select City, please come to, let's meet in Select City. You know, those are the pride with the customer experiences, and many of our centers does that. So the point here is, particularly when you are in an environment where initially you have that kind of a challenge, then how do you focus on that? So that is the second point, as far as we continue to focus on the area of creating and increasing and enhancing the experience when the customer is in the mall. The third important point is, again, doing a recheck on the retail mix what we have created, okay? And that's again is an ongoing process, but it is of immense importance, in my opinion, that for some reason or other, if say sizable percentage or a significant percentage of the retail mix is not in order, probably that could be one of the reasons why the center is not performing, and overall the other retailer who's actually doing a job, as what Yogeshwar said, who's able to attract the customer to the mall, but because of the collectively as a mall and the overall marketplace, if there are sizable percentage or a significant percentage which there is a mismatch, and that impacts even the good retailer. So to that extent, according to me, that is also very important. And going back to the second point, as in from the point of experience, it is also very important that from an operations point of view, where certain fundamentals, like, you know, as what Rajneesh mentioned, that when the mall opens at 10:30 or 11, we ensure that all the stores are open, not that because this is the time where the retailer normally takes it for granted. You know, he probably the corporate office of that retailer does not give importance to this store unit. In terms of their stocks level, in terms of their merchandise, VM, their staff, probably takes a secondary step. So how does the mall guy get into that thing and then persuades that, be it with the store manager or above at the level of whatever escalation, with the concerned retailer and in the top decision making, and persuade that point of confidence which he has on his center, so that he convey that to the retailer, and in turn takes the retailer's help and do that. So it's sort of a virtuous cycle one needs to get into it, and once they get this in this groove, then I'm sure it will turn out to be a successful model. That's in my opinion.
Pankaj, with JLL, I think you've been tracking the market for last 15, 20 years across the country, and you've seen various markets develop in shapes and sizes and etc. So where do you think South India mall development is today? You think it has had that great momentum in the last 7, 8 years, and the success rates have been better than the average in the country? And how do you see it moving forward? Are retailers more comfortable taking positions in South India malls?
You know,
Many
Vishal,
questions in one.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm going to be a little more critical on this answer because, my take is I think it's for all of us, it's a more of a feedback and a collective session. I think over the years, we've been doing retail business since 1999, since, modern trade retail started. And we can say, as not boasting about our business, but we've been involved in almost every center, some way or the other, touched upon it, and seen through the life cycle of the others. And we worked with, say, from Yogeshwar's mall to Mukesh's mall to Rajnish's malls to the malls which Vishal does, to right to the smaller cities as well and tier 4 cities as well. The key differentiating factor, and where the South has changed, is South has mall developers, owners, and retailers, and even consultants like us. All of us have been been always more cautious. Whereas the North guys and then followed by the Western India have been more boisterous in taking a lot more leap of faith and taking that extra jump and reading the market, or taking that punt, I would say that gut feel punt, and being more aggressive and saying, I want to do this differentiating. Somewhere now in the South we are more cautious, probably that's more cultural as well, that North Indians are perceived to be, or North India developers are more punters and they're trying to take bets. And a lot of the bets, let's be honest, when you're taking a bet in a casino, out of 10 out of 8 odd bets could go wrong, or the ratios can change. But I think today it has changed over the years, and we've seen that. And Vishal, particularly when I look at Brigade Orion as a mall, creating that inside non-road facing from one side perspective, and creating that food street outside on the ground floor, creating restaurants, which was always said we'll do restaurants on the second floor. There has changed over the years, but I think overall we are still very cautious in this part of the country, both from a retailer standpoint as well. When we see that they believe that the South market is smaller, but to give you a statistic, a lot of developers don't know that Hyderabad is a much more attractive market in terms of retailing after Delhi and Bombay than any other city. Because the customer, the consumption, it may be a smaller segment in terms of population, but the consumption is much higher. Whether you look at, and I'm saying wrong antidotes, but at least give you a reflection of the market. When you ever land up in a Hyderabad airport and you go down outside and you see the cars coming up, you'll always find a Bentleys and a Porsches and the Lamborghinis and parked there. There is a lot of wealth there. There's huge amount of wealth there which is getting spent. Whereas a VDS scheme, one guy comes and declares 10,000 crores or 15,000 crores. That means there is inherent wealth which is there. It is that they don't have the opportunity to go and spend that wealth, and they go and spend that wealth somewhere else. They go and spend it in another city like Delhi or Bombay, or they go and spend it in Dubai or Hong Kong or Singapore or the others. So there is inherent amount of wealth which is there. So I think what we're seeing that now the developers are taking a little more proactive approach than following and saying, I will wait for it to be successful in a Delhi or a Bombay and then do it in a Bangalore or a Chennai or a Hyderabad. But I can tell you there is huge opportunity, and each of those markets are also big today in the sense that, as I said, Hyderabad is a great market and big market. One of the big technology phone retailers told us the biggest market for them is Bangalore. Fashion retailers say that Delhi is bigger for them, but for technology retailers, Bangalore is a bigger market. So you have to actually also look at it and saying, tweak the business models in each market to see where the market standing is. So maybe it might more sense to do larger technology stores because people want that experience or are buying that. So that's what has changed, is changing, but I think a little more forward step is required to take that little more aggressive approach to, if really would have come out of the shadow and saying the best performing mall in the country is today in a Bangalore or a Hyderabad today.
So when you interact with the international retailers existing in India and wanting to come in, what is their view of the South Indian retail market?
So their view is, again, they believe that the size of the market exists there, but I think they still feel that the quality in terms of hardware which is available, and which when I mean hardware, I mean real estate, the number of malls or the quality malls available is still very, very less for that matter in terms of the density of population per se available or in terms of the market size. Bangalore still has a few, but if you look at it, how many million square feet or 500,000 square feet malls are really there and how many are actually coming up is very, very few. Hyderabad is not going to see any, has not seen any big mall opening in 2016, will not see any in 2017. In Bangalore, we only saw one big mall opening, which is Brigade in 2016.
So you would say that there is a lot of unrealized potential in the South
which is not being tapped.
market.
Because so he says, okay, I want to put up a store, but where do I put up a store? There is nothing which is opening up in every...
Sajeev, as a brand, do you also feel that way?
Well, I agree to what Pankaj is saying. Today, if you take my ratio of high street versus mall, I am at a 70-30. 70% being high street and 30% being mall. Now, what do we find in south of India? The issue that we face is that one is what Pankaj just said, taking the punt to build a mall. Be more aggressive like the north or the west guys. What we find is once the mall is there and once the leasing is done, all the stores have opened up. There you go, sitting happy, saying, okay, I've done my job. Now, let the brands do what they want to do. See, I again want to say, and referring to what Yogeshwar said, that no brand wants to lose money in a mall. Can the malls, specifically in South India, come up with a plan saying, look, this is what we want to do continuously, this is a continuous resonance that we want to create, and it's a fantastic plan, and why don't you participate? Trust me, there's enough and more marketing fund available with retailers today where they can fund a little bit towards that. We don't find that happening today. I mean, if you go to Bombay malls today, there's something or the other happening continuously. A buzz is happening. If I go to Select City, I'm 100% sure, Yogeshwar, you must be having an event today. So, that's what I'm saying. That is the difference that we find with South Indian malls that, look, I've done a beautiful, and please, I mean, do not take it otherwise, but, there is this lack of taking an initiative saying, okay, now I've opened, now the brands are all there, and everybody comes and says, okay, we are doing well, but please go and ask the brand. They would like to do more. And to bring that buzz, I cannot alone do that buzz. It has to be a buzz done by the mall and participated through the retailers. Right. That is the biggest thing that we see not happening here.
So Rahul,
I want to ask Vishal to it. Just from an opportunity standpoint, I just wanted to add to it. South India is a much bigger market. Like the advantage is for a retailer when he comes to South India, he's got 3 metro cities to cover. And then he's got numerous amount of quality tier 2 cities. Whereas in north only 1 metro city is there and west also is only 1 metro city and east also has 1. So from a logistics standpoint, it makes a whole lot of sense to actually penetrate the South India market much more, which is pretty much their reason. Secondly, if you look at it, entertainment, the highest cinema occupancy is done in the south because there's a clear advantage. One, this South Indians are more, towards people who live in the south part of India, more fanatic towards watching movies. Secondly, advantage of multiple regional movie centers as well. So you have more footfall coming into the centers as well and more repeated. So you don't have to wait for a Hindi movie or an English movie, unlike a south or a west or a north, where it's only playing 2 contents. Here you're playing on 3 or 4 contents. So you have a better opportunity of footfall. So it is about capitalization about these opportunities.
So Rahul, you have an extensive presence in South India. How is it stacking up metro, non-metro, and what is your experience on mall, non-mall, and how do you see your experience in mall progressing from here?
See, the mall, without a doubt, gives you the highest throughputs in the stores. But whether it is the most profitable, definitely not. So, Huh? Actually, the store which does the best for us, we are on a completely variable model, and we pay much more than the mall expects. So, yeah. So the mall is, very happy. We are also very happy. But what we see is that the amount of malls which are willing to sign up tenants who are successful is also not, the openness to look at new tenants and replace non-performing tenants is not something which I see with most of the malls. From my point of view, even if I don't do well, I would expect the mall to throw me out. And there has to be a very clear cut, because at the end of the day, if you are non-performing for a consistent period of time, you are basically pulling down the overall mall. And unless you can shape up, and I have seen many malls where, I will not name them, but there are, shops in different categories who are not doing, but just because they are brands or, they are willing to pay higher rental, they continue to be in the mall at the cost of the overall good of the mall. And few malls which are very ruthless, and I can say in Mumbai I have seen one, Oberoi is a classic example. He is so clear cut. If you're non-performing, you're out. And that makes the mall extremely exciting to a consumer. So from my point of view, I love a mall which demands performance.
So that's music to our ears.
Let me add something here. We have this concept of having the business review meet every month. So what we do is select few stores which are not doing well, and we call them and have a chat with them and tell them it's a very structured meeting. We talk about the store staff, we talk about the merchandise or the stock level, talk about the hygiene factor. And we try to have this meeting and make it more meaningful. In case you're not doing it, you need to know. Now, what happened at the store level, people know about it. They may not know at the head office level. Now, the head office looks at things at the macro level. Is the brand doing well across Mumbai? We are all right. But as a mall, if we are not adding value to the mall, there's no point you being there. But we don't want to throw them out at the first instance itself. We say, give you some time. We give you 3 months, 4 months, 6 months time to improve your performance. If you do not improve, then we have a point to say that, okay, you need to go out. Retailers also have a fear. Maybe they're on a lock-in period. Will they forfeit my deposit? So we kind of give them a signal. We are not here to forfeit your deposit, but you need to add value to the mall. But at the same time, you must have a fair chance to improve your performance. For that, we give you feedback. You see, the people at the store level, they may not be able to really take this back to the head office at why they are not doing well. As a mall, it is our responsibility to get people to the mall. But I can't take them to the store. The brand must have the pull power to take people to the store, and it depends on many factors. It's not just about getting people to the mall. Do I have the pull power to bring a consumer to my store? Am I good enough? If you're not good enough, then you don't have a right to be in the mall.
The trust deficit levels that we're talking about, how will we create any experiences? But that's where we are losing the opportunity versus some of these real online guys who are able to do this better. So I think trust and creating this ecosystem which is much more consumer friendly, which is much more standard, which is much more partnered as a retailer, as a mall, is the first step, as a first intent to go online, offline. So if you really want to go online, if you really want to create this infrastructure, partner with retailers in a way where you can't be worried every day that yaar ye online order hua to gaya kahan. Correct? And then I think if that intent is clear, then the opportunity that we can create is much larger. Obviously, at our own catchment levels, than the typical online retailer can create. I think we are the only ones who can create, turn e-commerce into everywhere commerce. So can we really make sense? Yes. Can we do business better than these guys? Yes. The only thing is, we will have to start thinking as online players. We'll have to start thinking, beyond real estate. We'll have to start thinking more consumer. And if we are able to do this, I think we have a larger opportunity than any of this.
3 points. First point that we strongly believe that malls are not only shopping places, these are social spaces and community spaces. And if you see the need hierarchy theory, I mean, do we really need a shirt? That's why I'm buying a shirt? No. I mean, it's not a physiological need which I'm trying to cater to. There are much higher needs, for example, to differentiate myself, to look good, to be loved, to be differentiated, no, to get appreciated. Those are the needs we are talking about when we go to mall. It's not that I need a shirt, so I don't have any shirt, so I have to buy. So malls are going to be social spaces, community spaces, and they will continue to do well. Now coming to technology part, now for example, we used to count footfall by manually earlier, then we started laser, then thermal, and now real time. So technology is only an enabler, I believe, for brick and mortar, and nobody is stopping us to become more intelligent. No, I mean, if there is data available, earlier we never knew the patterns of the consumer behavior within the mall. Whereas e-commerce guys, they know exactly the address of the person, the phone number of the person, the credit card number, preferences, frequency of buying, they know everything about the consumer. Whereas in brick and mortar, as a mall owner, we only knew two sets of people, one coming through DFMD women and one coming from male. So only male, female. There was no additional information as mall owner we had. But now the technology is available to track the buying pattern, the consumer behavior. So there's so much available from technology. But how to use that to our advantage is still
So I'll
is
just
up to us.
split the question in two parts.
Yeah.
As a shopping center developer and manager, you have a zone of control
Yes.
through your footfall counting machines and things like that, and your energy conservation techniques. The second is a zone of influence. Your influence on retailers. Okay. What Bhavik was mentioning, that I can choose to serve a larger catchment from my one store in a particular mall, but the mall developer needs to trust me that I'm going to actually serve his needs as well.
Yes.
So to what extent do you think a mall developer can have that strong and influencing role in creating a technology that benefits both the retailer and the shopping center developer?
Next 2-3 years will be difficult because there is no clarity. I have interacted with some retailers who are big retailers and international retailers. Situations are emerging where a person will buy online and come and return at the store. So where will it be? Where will the revenue share go? Or the other way around, that somebody has walked into the store and he couldn't find a size, and you gave him a iPad and he has bought online, so who should get the revenue share? So there is no clarity on this at the moment. There will be some situations where haggling will happen, but eventually it will settle down that both have to survive. I mean, one cannot survive at the cost of another person. Both have to survive together and have to help each other to sell more.
Yeah. So Rajnish, just taking this now into the South India context, there are things that are happening outside of South India. There are things happening in North India, West India, etc. There are malls implementing some of these technological solutions, both on this, in the zone of control side, that is better management of the shopping center, the common areas, and the second is as an influencing, on the influencing side, on the retailers, just what we touched upon. So how do you think that is shaping up now as a momentum or a trend in the South Indian shopping center fraternity? Or is it there, ahead, behind? Can it move forward in a faster or better way?
I think on the face of it, I don't see much differences.
Okay.
I think both or all the regions are more or less doing same kind of activities and same kind of promotions and same kind of retail sets, retailer presence. The big difference that I see for a 8 million population or 8.5 million population in Hyderabad, larger Hyderabad region, I see only 3 malls. Whereas if you see Bombay, for a 3 million population in western suburbs, we will have 5 malls. So I think there's, as we were discussing, the penetration levels of organized real estate infrastructure is not that good. But the good news is that today there is nobody making mall in North India, there is nobody making mall in West India. The only 2 cities where I hear multiple malls being in construction is Bangalore and Hyderabad. So if you look at Hyderabad, there are some 6 malls in construction right now, where at least somebody is putting brick and cement in place. And if you look at Bangalore, they are talking about 3-4 malls which are in construction. The other big observation that I have is, if you look at last 10 years, I think 2 big markets in West and respectively in North is Delhi and Bombay. they have not created any new high street. There is no new high street which has come up in these two cities at a city level. And if you look at Bangalore and Hyderabad and to some extent in Chennai, you will find there are new retail pockets which have emerged. You know, there are new high streets which have emerged, which 10 years back when I, or like 15 years back when I was looking for spaces for opening coffee shops, I was not aware that these high streets exist. Delhi, Bombay still have the same names coming up on list, but Bangalore, Hyderabad, Chennai have new high streets which have come up. So I think in absence of malls, people are going on to high streets, and they may not be structured, but at least there is a retail happening.
Fantastic. So thanks for a wonderful discussion. Request the audience to pose any questions that you have for any specific panelist.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Shobhuri Das. I'm from Euromonitor International. Anyone can answer this question. It's very theoretical and might seem very easy for you guys as well. So when you say retailers are the retailers who are working in the malls, are you including other services such as salons, movies, cafes and bars, restaurants? Are these all included? Are these all considered as retail outlets as well?
For sure. I mean, going forward, these are becoming more important to the mall. We have Fitness First fitness club there. And when we analyze, we don't tell them, but it's very important for the mall because the number of people they bring in and the breakfast they do and all that. And the salon, the beauty, these are the difficult ones which will not go online so immediately or be difficult to go online. Cafes, yeah.
Yeah, so that was the second part of my question.
Sure.
What percentage of the business are these other businesses getting you? Because, I mean, I research food service and I research retail, both of them. And I know both of them are absolutely distinct industries. They're different business model. Restaurants work in a different structure altogether.
Sure.
And a retail shop is going to work in a different way. So who are the actual footfall attractors here in a mall? Are people actually buying it, entering the malls to buy let's say a pair of jeans, or are they going in to buy, to watch a movie?
All of them are contributing because, like for example, H&M, Zara, the big anchors, they make a lot of difference because they bring in a lot of people. Then cinema is definitely a very good contributor. Food courts are very good contributors. Fitness and grocery are very good. And slowly the beauty aspect is also, like, especially in North India, the beauty is contributing a lot. The makeup, the color cosmetics and the personal care is contributing. If you need exact percentages, I can share with you, but off the cuff, I will not be able to give the right percentages.
But still, it's like a 50-50 or a 50-60 or?
No, the retail at the moment is more.
Retail is a higher percentage.
Yeah. The services are increasing. The growth in services are higher in our case. And if you add entertainment also, so it could be 50-50 then.
Like for example, earlier when, say about 6-7 years back when a mall was being designed or planned, the food component in the mall was about 5 to 7%. Today, in any good mall today, the food component is about 15%. Entertainment was 5 to 7%. Today, entertainments are as high as 10 to 12% as well. Whereas fashion and related used to be 65, 70% at time in malls. Today, it's going down to 60 and even going down to 50%. And there's another new category of those 10% differentiation factors like salons, experience stores, differentiated formats of retailing. So this is a combination. It's like you eating a sandwich. Now, is the lettuce, the mayonnaise, the chicken, and the butter there? Or if you take out one ingredient, will it work or not? Or which is more essential? Is the lettuce more essential or the mayonnaise more essential? I think it's a combination of everything which works. And that combination varies from market to market as well. So it will vary from between a Delhi market as well. It will vary from a South Delhi to a Noida. Because a Noida customer is looking at a lot more local convenience as well. Because there the hypermarket is the biggest driver because like Rajneesh said, there are no high streets getting created. So there is there are like a Gurgaon for example has very few Kiryana stores. The hypermarkets tend to do very well because it's a much more matured urban audience. Secondly, they prefer to go and their husband and wife working, so they prefer to go on a weekend to a hypermarket to go and shop. Whereas South Delhi is a lot more fashion driven, will have a lot more fashion driven malls. So like Select City Walk doesn't have really a full-fledged hypermarket. It has a component of a very gourmet supermarket.
So I'll give you an example of Bangalore, right? Orion Mall.
Yes.
Orion Mall does a business for about 800 crores. In a year. That's full retail sales. Out of that, 110, 120 crores is contributed by only the F&B category, food and beverages. So
I'm sorry, how much do you say?
120 crores. So that's about 15% like what Pankaj mentioned. So it's a very large component. It's a growing component. It did not exist to this extent 10 years back. We were dining outside, we were eating food outside, but not to this extent. So that's what has happened. There's a change taking place. The share of wallet, as we like to define, share of wallet is constantly changing. So food continues to drive today, but entertainment is getting stronger. And fashion, the dimension of fashion consumption is changing. So fashion can include cosmetics, beauty care, etc., because that's all part of your fashionable outlook, right? So your lifestyle spend. So that is a changing dynamic. I think next 5 years we'll probably see something else emerge. And like Yogeshwar mentioned in the morning that his mall is actually focusing a lot on fashion and beauty. Correct me if I'm wrong. See, that's a very, very aspirational part of the entire wallet share. And that is where more money is going to flow in the future as we see more international and aspirational brands entering the country. So it's a changing dynamic.
And also, correct me if I'm wrong, the split between a retailer and the service thing is pre-decided before by the developers, or how is the decision making
I mean,
process?
yeah, it is a collaborative thing. The developers sit with retailers and share their plans, and they probably get feedback from retailers as to whether they are doing it right or not, and then try to tweak plans if required. But more or less, the plans are pretty much in place.
Thank you so much.
Hi, good evening. My name is Rahul, and my question is to Sanjeev. You were mentioning that the split between high street and mall is 70-30. But if you talk to some of the international multinationals, they seem to be saying that most of our business is all from the malls. So can you give us a split in terms of what is your split of high street to mall in metros, and what is your split of high street to mall in probably?
So you want to know pan-India?
Yeah, pan-India, like metros and non-metros.
So let me just tell you that we as an organization started retailing when there was no mall. Right? Okay. So I have got 1,000 locations. This is just 1,000 franchised locations, which dates back to about 15-20 years from today. I mean, back. Earlier. Yeah, so we already had, like, it was 600, 700, 800, started growing that way. So that is why the split will be a little skewed, because we are already present on high street. However, the trend across India that we are seeing now, so if I don't take that into account, then the trend is becoming a 60-40 across India. It's a 70-30 in south of India, because honestly, there's no malls coming up. I mean, tell me which mall is coming up in south of India where, I mean, from my point of view, which is already signed with me, I'm not going to count that. But any new pipeline for 2019, 2020, 2022, 21, zilch, nothing. So therefore that skew. And all India, I've already told you, it's about 60-40. And probably that is also because of a higher bearing towards stores which we had opened much longer when malls were not even existent.
Okay. So the follow-up question to that is, let's say, for example, if you were to bet in the future, would you bet on high street or would you bet on malls?
See, so for me, when we look at
bet on consumer.
Absolutely. So those days are gone when I will actually come up and say that, okay, there is a mall which is coming up here, and let me bet all my horses onto this mall. So today I carry a bouquet of brands which signs about 8 to 10,000 square feet, one shot in a mall, if I want to expose all the brands. However, it's not like that. So I'll just give you a small example. I just signed a property in this conference on the 27th main HSR layout, right? That's a high street. I think my business from there will be equivalent to what I probably do, what I would probably do, let's say, from a level 2 kind of a mall in Bangalore. So it's not exactly about a mall or a high street. It's also about consumers. What is the kind of pull that mall is doing, how relevant that mall is to the population living there, what is it that they're doing differently. So as I told you, I gave you an example of Samastipur. Samastipur Mall is very relevant to that catchment. They have literally, the Raymond Shop franchisee in Samastipur, he called me and he said, what have you done? You've destroyed me. I said, why? He said, I was the king in this market. And you've just gone and opened a store in the mall. And that is where everybody is rushing to. What do I do? So I said, take that franchisee. You become the franchisee. Move ahead in life. So that's how we manage the entire scenario. And I cannot, put my foot down and say, this is exactly what is going to be my split tomorrow. No. There are many malls we exit out of because we don't find it relevant. We don't find it feasible. So that's how it is.
Thank you.
Hi, hello. My name is Bobby. I'm a mall developer from Hyderabad. This question is for Pankaj. You mentioned that mall developers from North India are more aggressive, more boisterous. Can you be more specific as to, in terms of, is it the size of the mall? Is it how they, is it their rentals or what? Can you just be more specific?
I think they are willing to take that extra punt. When I meant was, it's not about the size of the investment of the others. If you look at the quality of residential, which is done particularly in Bangalore, it's we always use it as a highlight to say that one of the best residential projects get constructed in terms of quality is not a reflection of anybody else in south, towards west or not, but one of the best quality collectively as a market is Bangalore. What I meant was to say, like, for example, I'll take a case study. For example, Select City Walk, and Yogesh, pardon me if I'm going wrong on this one, is, the most successful mall, there is definitely a queue outside Yogeshwar's office every day, and we get a lot of calls also alongside and saying, get us space in Select City Walk. They had this space called the Dome, which is on top of the mall, which is the third floor, fifth and sixth floor. Not very visible because you couldn't do much because of DDA controlled design. They sat on that space, taped it empty for 3 years. And I'm sure there were enough takers to take that space, not people willing to give them rent. They had a lot of ideas to convert into an office as well, would have given better rentals. But they waited patiently to get that extra retailer who had never walked into a mall and opened a store. And it was called Fitness First. And I remember we sitting and discussing and negotiating on that transaction. It took us a year to convince the retailer and also the mall to understand the structure, what value will he bring. Because he's not a regular customer where he's got a capacity issue. He can only take 500 members in the evening on the treadmills and the other things. So he's not a retailer who can keep increasing sales. He works completely odd hours to what a normal mall works. His maximum peak customer, some of them will, at least, what happened was there was a Coffee Bean at time on the ground floor. It used to open at 11 o'clock with the mall, right, Yogeshwar? At 10:30. When Fitness First started, after 1 month realized, it started opening 8 o'clock in the morning. Because people used to finish their workout, wanted to pick up a coffee or before heading to work. A lot of people would want to pick up a sandwich or a coffee and go to work or go home, whatever it is. So it is just the more of the attitude in saying experiment. Can I take an experimental? Can I do something differentiated? Which we find sometimes small developers willing to do in a lot more other cities, whereas here we won't want to do the same or the many. Because see, let me be very frank with you. You go to any premium A-grade mall, Delhi, Bombay, Bangalore, Chennai, Hyderabad, Calcutta, it's the same set of retailers. It's the same Zara, the same Mango, the same CK, Tommy Hilfiger, Starbucks, PVR, Cinepolis. How do you differentiate? Is that 10 to 15% is that balance of differentiation, whether it's services, a salon, whether it's the cafes, whether it's the food, whether it's something which you're going to create, which is going to get the customer keep coming back. The idea is there is 130 crore people in this country. And a lot of it is aspirational because 65% of the population is below 35. Is it how often and how more times and how much more they can consume from my center is what is the retailer looking at and also the mall developers looking at. So it's how do you create that stickiness? That's the point.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Jitin. I'm from Philips.
That's the last question.
Yeah, so my question is around a point which came up that hardware is now a hygiene factor in malls and it's software that is the differentiator. So how is the sellability, the question is open to anyone, so how is the sellability of a space related directly to the software that the mall or the real estate developer can provide? And from the end of a person who's looking for space, how much of a premium are you willing to shell out to a mall which is offering you more than what other spaces or just physical spaces are offering you?
Could I answer that as a retailer?
Sure, go ahead.
Yeah, of course, I'm ready to pay a premium.
So just to answer your question, if you look at any airline, they either buy Boeing or Airbus, right? The hardware is absolutely same for all of them. There is the same engine, same craft, same size, same number of seats. Your experience of travel with any one of them has very limited interaction with the person you travel or you fly. Your airport is not controlled by them, your security is not controlled by them. Most of them provide you web check-in and web buying. There's a very limited window in which that brand is built or destroyed or positioned differently. So if you look at 7, 8, 10 airlines working in India now, you have a different image for them and which is very distinguished image for each airline. And that is what you have created in your mind through experiences, interactions, and what you hear from others. Similarly, in malls, the hardware more or less is same. Every store has that 6 to 8 meter frontage. The size of stores is more or less same. Corridors are standard. Everybody is air conditioned. I don't think any mall in India is not having air conditioning today, or escalators, elevators. Most of the hardware is same. It's how you, in that 2 hour, 3 hour, when the customer is in your mall, make him feel or make her feel. That creates a perception. And that's where the software plays a bigger role. Now, hardware is hygiene. If you got your hardware wrong, no software can run it well, right? But if you get your hardware right, which is given, which is hygiene, the software makes all the difference. And I can't take a better example than airlines because they all have the exact same hardware.
So have there been any specific initiatives for this software, for this differentiation in terms of
we are learning every day. Every day we do something new and we see customers giving a different response and enjoying differently. 3 years back, we were never thinking of selfies. Today, our research says that out of 6 basic needs the customer comes to shopping, basic needs of shopping that comes, brings them to shopping mall, the 7th big need is selfie. Is there enough spots to take selfie and share on their social media? We were shocked when we analyzed that focus group discussion, you know. So every day is a new surprise now. There's a lot of effort going in to create selfie points, you know.
And also just I'll add to this a little differently as well, and I'm, moderate between the retailer and balance it out between the developer. Retailer is not going to give you that value at the initial first to pay extra premium for the software services till he's actually experienced it and utilized it. So from a mall developer to expect that extra premiumness in saying that I am actually going to do extra things to you in the software program, unless you have a demonstrated track record with a developer of a development company, and you've done it when 2 or 3 malls and then can charge the premium. But a first mall owner comes back because we've seen experience and developers say, listen, I am going to do this calendar events, I'm hiring this agency, so you need to pay me the 20 rupees extra. Nobody gives you that. You have that patience, take that risk of that 1 year to demonstrate that. And believe me, then that is a differentiation factor to come in. And there are enough case studies, I don't want to name malls, which are side by side in the same location. But there's a huge difference in terms of feel itself, rental, brand mix, everything about it. So you can actually see that differentiation itself. And that, when they started on the day 0, they were all equal probably.
So he's trying his best to moderate trends, huh?
I just got a mail from my office that 10 most Instagrammed locations, and CityWalk is in the top 10. First one is Marine Drive, second one is Taj Mahal, third one is Juhu Beach, India Gate, Baga Beach, Goa, Connaught Place, and then Select CityWalk, and then Golden Temple. So,
super.
So now you know why we'll pay the premium. It's already demonstrated, as Pankaj said.
Sorry. It looks very nice, sitting here, but trust me, it's very difficult task. It's when you are doing so well, then there's so much of pressure of retailers. One retailer came to us that, we are not doing well and all that. And when we discussed the figure, he was doing very good numbers as compared to any other mall or any other location. But he said, no, from here I want to do more. How can you know? So, you have made a budget which is much higher than the reality. And there is... yeah. And now there is a limitation of car parks we have. There's a limitation of space. There's so much space you can have for this. And there are so many people can come. So after a time it plateaus, no, and we are facing that situation that earlier we are growing and now it is now stabilizing. It's, to bring in a new additional consumer, it's very difficult. Infrastructure does not allow you to bring a new consumer, so it's very difficult task. But we enjoy. I mean, as you know, North has been invaded many times. So with full respect to the developer here, I mean nothing against South India developers, but North Indian they are outspoken also, no.
So great. In conclusion, I think what has come out very clearly is that the hardware has to be the hygiene factor. It is a must-have. Without good hardware, you just can't call it a mall or a successful mall. And of course, software is an ever-changing scenario. And most importantly, what has come out is that South Indian developers or shopping center developers need to be taking more bolder steps, taking more risks, and realize the potential that lies in this fantastic market in South India for consumption. I think with that note, we'll say thank you very much to all our panelists for a wonderful and engaging discussion, and to the audience for participating so freely and warmly. Thank you very much for staying back. Have a good evening, guys.